The metaphysics of AI, mass layoffs, chat-induced psychosis, excessive water usage. We know what it means physically, but what does it mean spiritually? Why do we seek chat out for life advice when chat has never lived a life? The simple answer is that all things are mirrors, no exceptions. Thus, a robot counselor who has only lived vicariously, secondhand, through scraped blogs and articles of people who have actually experienced things, is exactly the kind of guide deserved by those resentful of the task of living life. Indeed, AI is the tangible manifestation of humanity's collective hatred of life. Hatred. What else can it be called when an employer uses AI to make their flyers, their marketing copy, their ads, instead of hiring a perfectly capable artist? If that's not hatred for the human beings with whom they are interdependent, what is it? What else can it be called when a perfectly capable artist abandons their holy creativity in exchange for the ease, the convenience, the pathetic safety of having chat generate art and writing in their stead? If that's not hatred of creativity, of life force, what is it? What else can it be called when someone asks ChatGPT or Claude or whatever what to say to their crush or what career path to pursue so that they don't have to do the exhausting, embarrassing, excruciating work of discovering themselves, confronting themselves, loving themselves? If that's not hatred of feeling one's own emotions, what is it? Between the hatred of interconnectedness, creativity, and emotion, it's no wonder why so much water is being wasted in service of AI. Water symbolizes all of these things. All waterways are interconnected and ultimately lead to the ocean, which metaphysically represents the collective unconscious for its functionally infinite depth and mysterious darkness. The ocean is said to be the cradle of biological life, and therefore the essence of creativity and life force. The water element has long been associated with emotions in many spiritual traditions. Because reality is essentially symbolic, and everything we see originates in unseen realms, the collective's metaphysical resistance to life itself is now physically manifesting as artificial intelligence, which guzzles life-giving water both symbolically and literally. For more on the anti-life quality of AI, you may enjoy my essay explaining how modern technologies are functionally undead like zombies and vampires. That essay is called Worldwide Ouija Board. Seeking a lifeless entity's counsel on how to live life is absurd at best, asinine at worst. Spiritually speaking, this phenomenon has Rahu written all over it. Who is Rahu? In Vedic myth, the demon dragon Svarbhanu invited himself to a gathering of gods and drank the soma of immortality that was intended only for them. When the sun and the moon discovered his presence and alerted the gods, Vishnu swiftly cut off Svarbhanu's head from his body as punishment for his deceit. This head and body were then thrown to opposite ends of the sky to remain separated for eternity. As a result, Svarbhanu's head, Rahu, can only consume information from the outer world through his sense organs, eyes, nose, ears, tongue, and skin, but cannot digest, cannot embody or truly understand what he consumes. Alas, his stomach is far away in his disconnected body named Ketu, who contains the elixir of immortality, but cannot go anywhere or do anything with that powerful substance because he lacks the direction that his head would give him. Through a Jungian lens, Rahu symbolizes consciousness or theoretical knowledge, while Ketu represents unconsciousness or embodied knowledge. To quickly explain the distinction between these two, I'd like for you to imagine a personal trainer. Imagine that this personal trainer reads plenty of books about exercise, studies anatomy diagrams, and consumes lectures about how to develop muscles. But despite all this, they're flabby and out of shape because they do not regularly exercise. Now imagine that this personal trainer tries to charge you money for their expertise on fitness. Would you not think they were insane? This is typical of Rahu's self-deluding nature. The mind can convince itself that it understands something because it understands it in theory, but the mind cannot truly know something without testing that knowledge in the laboratory of its own body. Living in one's head and analysis paralysis are conditions of Rahu, who has the brain with which to think, but not the body with which to act. You may even recognize yourself in the description of Rahu if you are an overthinker or a maladaptive daydreamer or someone who chronically says, I should get around to XYZ, but never actually gets around to XYZ. Unfortunately, the internet abounds with theoretical experts who cast convincing illusions of their own expertise, but cannot demonstrate embodiment of what they sell. On the internet, we traverse the virtual sphere using profile pictures, quite tellingly as heads without bodies, like Rahu. And it is in this digital sphere that we experience relationships, art, and more through an illusory digital substrate rather than viscerally in the flesh. Artificial intelligence is the ultimate manifestation of this Rahuvian symbolism. ChatGPT, Claude, and the like are essentially Rahu, the bodiless head who sees all and knows all and thinks thoughts upon thoughts upon thoughts, but does nothing, affects nothing, achieves nothing, for he has abandoned his holy, bloody, messy body in favor of the pristine perfection and unverifiable genius promised by the unlived, theoretical life contained entirely in his mind. This is why AI is prone to hallucinating or stating absolute fabrications as if they are true. Just as Rahu deludes himself into believing he can think his way to enlightenment, so too does Chat and his ilk operate entirely in a land of illusions. But one must understand that life cannot be understood theoretically. Life must be lived. Steps must actually be taken, and mistakes must actually be made. Lessons must actually be learned from direct experience before one can claim to truly know anything. The ancient Vedic myth of Rahu and Ketu is evidence that humanity has long suffered from a tendency to avoid the work of embodiment. Some religions go as far as to condemn the body as intrinsically dirty, shameful, and irredeemable, and celebrate the day that their mortal coil is shed once and for all by way of physical death, as if their body were a straitjacket from which they must escape. But in reality, our body is where and how we experience God. 1 Corinthians 6:19-20 says, Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, whom you have within you from God? You are not your own, for you are bought with a price, so glorify God in your body. You may have heard the phrase, go touch grass, which is a meme leveled at anyone who has obviously spent so much time on the internet that it has warped their perception of reality. But the phrase, go touch grass, though humorous on the surface, is deeply esoteric, for it carries the profound yet simple wisdom that the antidote to hallucination is visceral experience. This fear of the lived life is understandable. Our body is unavoidable so long as we are incarnated. In our bodies, we carry the stories and scars of every experience we'd rather remain unconscious of. Bringing our awareness to the places where we are numb, where we feel pain, where we are vulnerable, where we are weak, is the great work of making the unconscious conscious. In facing the unknown within our own bodies, we come to understand how all of our limitations are self-imposed limitations. Once we can face this fact, we become eligible for an enlightenment only granted to the most sovereign and self-responsible among us. As the myth of Ketu reveals, what awaits us on the other side of embodiment is the soma of immortality itself. Is there any greater reward? If we wish to stop AI from spreading into every sector of society, we must ask ourselves why it came to exist in the first place, and we must take responsibility for the ways in which we feed our life force, water, to it. So if you should find yourself tempted to consult a lifeless LLM about how to live life, ask yourself what feeling in your body you are avoiding. If you want chat to make art for you, are you hoping to be saved from the time-bound process of painting a picture yourself? If you want AI to replace one of your employees, are you hoping to be rescued from the dreadful responsibility of providing a paycheck to that human who has placed their trust in you? If you want Claude to give you the best possible pickup line to use on your crush, is it the embarrassment of rejection that you wish to avoid? The silver lining to this AI era is that people are beginning to see the value in the ugly, dirty mess that human experience can sometimes be. How divine our inspired, handmade art, our songs sung with trembling voices. How sacred our missteps as we learn to walk, our stumbling as we learn to dance. Our errors are holy, for they give us a chance to learn, refine, aspire. As humans, our heads dwell in the heavens, while our feet touch the earth, making our bodies the symbolic vehicles through which one's wildest dreams can become tangible, experienceable. How could we surrender this infinite creative capacity to an unthinking, unfeeling, undead machine? Like God, in whose image we are made, we are creators, shaping reality in ways that disembodied beings ferociously envy, and only a fool would reject this gift of divine embodiment for the promise of illusory knowledge. Thanks for listening, lovelings. I'm Allison Gray, and I have the shamanic ability to perceive the symbolic plane of reality. I share this gift in my content, my courses, my books, and my one-to-one guidance sessions, which you can book online and in person. If you wish to support my work, you can subscribe, donate, and more at allison-gray.com.